Welcome back to the Business Equation Podcast. I'm joined today with my guest, Charles Coney. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, Nick.
Oh, we're super excited to have you. A lot of times we talk straight business tips, tactics, and today we're going to get into one of my favorite topics of all time, investing.
Sounds great to me.
All right.
I've been doing for the last 6 months, sitting at home.
That sounds good. There's been definitely a craze with the millennials and the Robin Hoods and the day trading and everything else. But I'm real excited to get into it today. You're third generation
Yes.
investor. Your sons are investing as well, so you got 4 generations.
Yes,
sounds
sir.
like you know the stock market and the real estate pretty well. So I can't wait to get into it. Can you give us some background, Charles, who you are, what you do, and get right at it. Anything you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so my name is Charles Coney, as Nick already said, and I'm a vice president of software development for a very large Fortune 10 company. Run about 2,000 people in my software organization, but I've been in software development for over 25 years. Built everything from Tomahawk cruise missiles to airplanes, to working in the medical business, energy business, and now on the financial side. So as he said, I am a third generation investor. My sons are the fourth, and I love it. And I've been in the stock market now for over 20 plus years. And my first stock I ever bought was Exxon, because I grew up in Louisiana. So that was where I started. My dad told me, you did a co-op out in San Diego for General Dynamics, came home with $17,500. And he's like, what are you going to do with your money? I said, I'm going to party this semester, while I'm in college. What does every other college student do with that kind of money in his pocket? He said, no, you're going to invest it. I'm like, I got the next 30 years of my life to invest. What are we talking about this for? He said, buy some stock. So E.F. Hutton was the first brokerage firm that I ever joined. And everybody know, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens. That's the old adage about E.F. Hutton. And Exxon was my first stock. Anyway, there you go.
So do you remember the price you bought the Exxon for?
Yes, I do. It was $28.35. You never forget that first one.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So what do you see with the market today? Like, what do you see going on, and what do you think? A lot of people, you're definitely right, they've been home, so I think they're in it more than normal.
Yes.
What can you take us through?
Sure. Well, since I've been home since February, basically working from home, still working a full-time position, I've seen a number of, like you say, millennials getting into the stock market through Robinhood. I've seen a number of course, minorities now getting really involved into the stock market. People don't want to be caught out again. And if you think about through history, about every 7 to 10 years, something bad happens like this, okay? Whether it's the bank bailout, the mortgage bailout, the car bailout, there's something bad that happens. So it gives you a chance for, quote unquote, a market crash, or a reset is what I call it, and a chance to get in and make a whole lot of money. So right now you got over 25, 30 million millennials who have joined on Robinhood and buying stock. You have a number of people who have started to teach stock on YouTube or Instagram, which is basically how I even got into this. My youngest son, who is a film and photography major, he made a dare. He said, I bet you won't get an Instagram account. I said, no, because I don't want to talk to nobody when I get off work. So why would I get an Instagram account? So he said, yeah, you're afraid you'll never have more followers than me. I said, okay. So I took the dare. And probably within 3 months, I had some 5,700 followers following me because of what I post about stock. I'm not posting anything else but about stock. And with that said, I've also done some 230 one-on-ones with people doing consulting on how to open up a brokerage account, how to buy your first stock, how to start your portfolio, what I've done over a 25-year period to get to where I am today. So that's pretty much what's going on in the market. And it's all been tech. Everything right now that's making money is tech. It's stay-at-home stocks. It's also the large food companies, or your Walmarts, your Targets, your Krogers are doing great. Okay. Your CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity company. They're doing great. Just, Apple, Microsoft. So all the stay-at-home technical companies are doing great, while a lot of the normal cyclical companies haven't been doing so great in the financials or in the energy business. But that's pretty much what I've been seeing so far in the stock market, sir. Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of business owners on the line, and
Sure.
listen to us. And I know for myself, it was one of those things where I worked my way, worked for somebody else, and I finally started working for myself, and I found myself with money that I never had before. So it was like, well, what do you do with it? How do you keep it? And getting a good accountant was step number one. But I think step number two is, where do you reinvest some of it? I do reinvest a lot in the business as a business owner, but I also do like to not have all my eggs in one basket, and I kind of like to spread it out. So I have some real estate, and I also, I have some long projects. I have bought some cryptocurrency, some long projects. Almost if I lose it, I can still tie my shoes and go on my day, no big deal. But I do have those long ones, and then I think there are. I am in the stock market as well, and trying to, just be smart with it, playing the long game. And, so how would you take a business owner, somebody who's never really been in the stock market before, and kind of get them in? What's the tips and tactics you would use?
So first of all, like I said, if somebody's never been into the market, I'm like, okay, buy what you know. Look around and say, what do I use every day? And that's kind of what I've done with my two sons. One's 28 and one's 23. And I'm like, okay, what do you, my youngest son, what do you use all the time? Everything is Apple. Okay, then why don't you buy Apple stock? So he bought Apple stock. What else do you have? I have an Xbox. Okay, who makes Xbox? Okay, that's Microsoft. So let's buy some Microsoft. So if you think about, your day-to-day walk of life, you have to kind of start paying attention, especially in this time, to what are people doing all the time right now? Oh, everybody's going to Walmart. It's like going to Walmart is like, that's where you go to party these days. Let's meet in the electronic session, watch some TV, put some music on or whatever, because we can't go to the nightclubs. We can't go to the restaurants anymore. So you go to the Walmart to have a party, or we go to Target. So you look at those things that you say, since I've been at home, what's big? Oh, Pepsi. Pepsi is killing it. They not only make drinks, but they also make a lot of the potato chips and the other foods that we eat that are snacks. So if I'm dealing with somebody brand new, I'm saying, look, get into Apple, get into Microsoft. Those companies are going to be around forever. And as you see, Apple is doing a 4-for-1 split. So here's a chance. If you have never been in Apple before, it's at $400. You now get in at $125 on August 31st. So every 4 to 5 years, Apple does a split, and it runs back up, to $400 or $500. So you want to see your gains in a 4 or 5 year period, buy some Apple. Tesla's the other one. Elon Musk, most people may think that he's crazy, but he's crazy all the way to the bank right about now. He said, my stock is not even worth $700. Well, you got to think about why Elon Musk said that. He wanted to drop the price, get more stock options at a much cheaper price, and then drive it back up to $2,000. So you think he's not sitting up here smiling all the way to the bank? Yes. So it's splitting 5-to-1. So you definitely got a chance now to get in at $400 on Tesla, and probably within the next year, it'll be up above $1,000 again. So now is a great time for somebody who's never been in the market to get in. Now, for a businessman, if you want safety, get into things like an ETF. There's XLK, there's XLY, there's all these different ones that hold stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, Amazon. You can't forget about Amazon, the big bully on the block that's pretty much running everything these days. Those companies are just doing great. So you get an XLY, XLK, ARKK, or ARKW. And I know I'm just throwing out these symbols, but if people go and look those up and you look at their top 10 holdings, they are probably some of the largest companies in the world that are all above $400 or $500 these days. So that's a simple way for somebody who doesn't want to watch their portfolio every day. You just want to put your money somewhere and go to your normal job or go to sleep and not have to worry about the next morning, oh God, did it drop? get you an ETF. So those are just some of the simple things that I do with a lot of the people that I've been working with so far.
Yeah, I would say that's simple, straightforward advice. Like,
Yes,
go
sir.
with the ones go with the ones that you like. The ones that are constant performers too. I think
Yes, sir.
you're absolutely right there. I think the other question I would have is like, what about people that hear about like the index funds and like if they're trying to decide like should they do the index funds or I think not as sexy as it was before, but there used to be a lot of talk about mutual funds too. Like
Yes.
so how do you tell or do you think someone's better to just take that simple, straightforward advice and the Microsoft, the Apples, the Amazons, the ones that I mean, we get so many Amazon packages at our house. That's what I invested in. Facebook's another one. I've been Facebook marketing on for my business since 2013. I've had stock since the IPO just because I was like, I know how they're making their money. It's all off of advertising. So I bought Facebook for years. I think that's the approach that I've taken. But what do you tell somebody who, hears about mutual funds, index funds, and stuff like that?
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If you just really don't want to have to play in this game, just get you a couple of index funds, get you some mutual funds, get you some ETFs that carry great stocks, and you can research those. You can actually Google it, top 10 index funds, top 10 ETFs. And then you pull those up and you look at what their holdings are. You look at what their returns have been over the last 5 years. You use like a 5-year horizon if you really want to just know how well it's done. So that's where I would tell, anybody to go. But one of the safest places to go is get you a Roth IRA. Go to your nearest bank, go to a Fidelity, go to a Merrill Lynch or whatever, open up a Roth IRA. And within that IRA, you can actually have index funds, ETFs, and stock. So right now, Microsoft, Apple, a couple nice index funds, and a Roth IRA, which will allow you to put $6,000 a year into that Roth IRA where you don't have to worry about taxes and you just sit back and let it grow. So that's where I would tell somebody who wants to play it safe to put their money. Before you get too dangerous playing options and some of these other things, I tell everybody, get your long-term portfolio set up first before you start thinking about all those I want to make money fast type ideas.
Well, I definitely was gonna ask about options, but I was gonna wait a second. So we'll come back around to that one because I think someone mentioned to me a while ago was that's like the poor man's racetrack, but
no doubt.
Yes, but I guess when you're talking about the investing, I think it's important for people to understand that you're talking about long term.
Yes, sir.
And that's in the Roth IRAs. If I'm correct, you can't touch them really till retirement, right? There's an age limit on that.
59.
And do you suggest that somebody maybe has both kinds of accounts, like one that they can touch and then one that they can't touch, like a Roth IRA, and then one that they have another account as well that if they would ever want to pull out, they could? Do you suggest that as well?
Yes, I would. Actually, my 28-year-old and my 23-year-old son, I mean, they both have Roth IRAs. They both have jobs, so they are allowed to have Roth IRAs at this point. And you think about it, over the next, 20 plus years, they can put $6,000 away with no taxes and still buy those same things that you buy in a regular brokerage account. So they have their own individual brokerage accounts and they have their own Roth IRAs. So they're playing with safety, also with a little risk. And the younger you are, you definitely want to play with more risk, and as you start getting older, you want to change that risk. So when I was in my 20s, basically, I was probably, 90% stock and 10% safety. As you get older, and I'm definitely getting to that point where another 6 or 7 years, I'm walking out of corporate America one way or the other. You're either going to throw me out or I'm just going to leave on my own. But, I'm now, more like, 80% stock and 20% safety. So I'm still taking big risk. Okay, because right now we're living in unusual times. I'll put it that way. We haven't seen anything like this in most people's lifetime. Like neither one of my sons have experienced this because like I said, every 10 years something bad happens. So now they've seen this and now's a great time to get into the market. But yes, that's pretty much the way I do it. Play it safe on one end, but play it, risky on the other end, because you got time, your time horizon of 20 to 30 years, you have time to make up any type of losses that you actually get. Yes, sir.
So what would you say about like right now, like in March, there was, a point where the market pretty much took a nosedive. And I think people who were lucky enough to really buy into that, buy during fear, man, are they happy right now? But it seems like you're right. Yeah, me too. So I think a lot of people are seeing things, come back. There's a lot of stocks that have bounced back and bounced back even stronger. Like, are there still good deals out there? Is this still the right time? Should people be worried about the election? Like, what about everything into like really where we are today, right now?
Yeah, so I look at it like this. I study the stock market every day. And at the end of every day, around 10 o'clock at night, I go to my favorite website, which I use is Market Watch, and I just look at what were the top stocks of the day. And I'm like, okay, why are you running up? So yes, they should. And like I said, with Apple about to split, you should be buying. With Tesla about to split, you should be buying. One that most people have slept on is Starbucks. Starbucks is on sale. It's in the 70s right about now. Okay. 100% of the Starbucks stores are open in China, they're open in Japan, and they're open in Australia. 85% of those stores are open here in the US for either drive-through or for you to walk in and pick up your order and leave. Now, granted, Starbucks makes a lot of their money by people just sitting in there all day buying coffee and food, but it is definitely growing. So I'm telling a lot of people, jump into Starbucks right about now. It's half price. 2 or 3 years from now, when it's back up to $150, you'll thank me later. But definitely, get into something like Starbucks. Another one is McDonald's. A lot of people forget about McDonald's. Oh, it's just, the Golden Arches. But you got to realize McDonald's is also in the real estate business. That all that land that they own, and they own a lot of the property that Chipotle is also on, because Chipotle used to be part of McDonald's, and a lot of people don't realize that. But now that Chipotle has broken away, it's a $1,000 stock, which I don't understand. I'm still trying to figure out how buying, cheap, Mexican food from a Chipotle is $1,000 stock, but it's great, and the food is okay, but the stock has really run up. So those are just some of the things that I look at, and I look at my surroundings of what's happening. I'll give you a couple of more examples. My youngest son said, Dad, now that everybody can't go shopping, you got to buy online. Well, I'm not a big online shopper, at least I wasn't until now. Like you said, everybody buys Amazon.
Yes.
He told me about Overstock. I'm like, okay, Overstock, I've heard about it. Back in March, Overstock was $5. It's $118 today.
Wow.
Back in March, he said, Dad, everybody has to have a beautiful website. Wix. I'm like, okay, yeah, Wix. I'm a technical guy, so I know about Wix and websites, but what's the big deal? Wix was like $104. Now it hit $300. So I'm thankful for listening to somebody who I wouldn't normally listen to when I'm thinking about adding to my stock portfolio. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I've been able to capitalize on by, sitting at home and listening to a 23-year-old, and also watching my wife as she shops all day, like you say, on Amazon and on these websites that I never have time to do because I'm always at work in the office. Now I'm at home observing what the rest of the world is doing, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. Okay. So yeah, Nick, that's what I'm doing.
Right. So how about, like, can you talk to somebody about if they have a brokerage account, like when to take money off the table? I think that's probably a really hard. I know I have the hardest time to do that. I never sell at the right time. So
yeah, so I look at it like this. So I play the stock market a couple different ways. I play long term, and long term for me is I'm in it for 20 years. Okay. Then I play short term. Short term to me is I'm going to buy a stock, hold it for 6 to 8 months, maybe make 20, 30, 40, 50%, on my money, sell it, and then take that money and feed my long term. So that's how I feed a lot of my long term sales. Okay. So it's like an engine that I've built over a 20-year period. Find some short term stocks that are hot. So like right now, the housing market, everybody went out and got a cheap loan. But guess what? Pulte Homes, D.R. Horton, Toll Brothers, they all stopped building homes in February because of the pandemic. So now they are back building homes again because they want to move out the city. They want to get a house now, instead of living in an apartment with people right up on them because, unfortunately, of the COVID. So home building up in June was up 20% higher than it was the whole time last year. So all those homes builders right now, from now until March, will probably have 3 or 4 great quarters. So that's short-term money for me to dump a whole lot of cash in, take those results, and then put it back into my long-term hold. So that's what I've been telling the 230 plus people that I've done one-on-ones with. Here's your long-term, set it up, and then do your short-term to feed your long-term. And like you said, eventually we'll talk about options, and that's the same thing I do with my option calls also. Okay.
All right, let's
yes,
get into
sir.
the options. Let's do it right now. Go for it.
Sure. So I don't play day trading or swing trading. Okay. The type of options I will play is what I call long-term options. And then again, a long-term option like right now, the shortest option I have right now, I bought in March. It runs to March of 2021. Okay. Because that gives me enough time to watch it go up, go down, and go back up again. And if you're betting on great companies, you pretty much going to get a run. But here's the thing. You got to have a plan in mind of when to take profit and to walk away. That's people's biggest problem. They'll see something go up 300, 400, 500%. Oh God, it's going to go to 1,000. Wait a minute. But your plan was to get out when it was at 100% gain. You're still in it at 500% gain, and now you're hoping for 1,000% gain. Okay. So I usually play things out for a year. I even have some options right now that I've learned from somebody else that I follow on Instagram to put them out to October of 2022. I've never done that before. But that time horizon gives you more time to watch it go up. Also, I've seen some of my options, go up, in the 3, 4, 5, like I said, 900% gain because I've put them out for so long. I will take profit. And that way you can say, I'm not going to sell the entire option. I'll take 10 contracts off the table and leave the other 90 to run, take some of that cash and go put it into my long term. So, but those day traders and swing traders, you got to be willing to watch that stuff daily. And also, I tell people all the time, whatever you put into an option like that, be willing to lose. That's almost like, giving money to a friend who said, let me borrow $500. My pastor always says, never give anybody money that you can't afford to get back. So you need to know what your limit is. If your limit's $1,000, never put more than $1,000 into an option account. Yes, sir.
Could you explain to us the how an option works, maybe for those who never really went into it before?
So basically, when you buy an option, you can do a call. A call option, basically, if you buy one option contract equals 100 shares of a particular stock. When you go into your brokerage account and put it in, it will tell you what the strike price is for particular days or particular months. It also tells you what the buy price is, whether it's, you're getting in at 50 cents or you're getting in at $3, whatever that price is. It's all driven by the market. So basically buying an Apple option is going to be very expensive. Buying a Pulte home option was very inexpensive if you bought it in March because they weren't selling. So that's how you do a call. One way to protect yourself is sometimes you can do what they call as a put. You're basically betting on that stock going down. So one of the major ones was Eastman Kodak. People who bought into that Kodak option, it was $2 and it went up to $13. And all of a sudden they said, oh, we're going to give Kodak $769 million to start making drugs here locally. So the stock went from $13 and shot up to $60. Now, the people who got in at 13 and rode it to 60 the next day and then got out, they made a lot of money. But the people who were smart enough to say, you know what, this can't be real. Kodak is a photography company. I used to work for them. It's on, of course, as part of my bio that I sent you.
Yep, I saw it.
And it's like, there's no way all of a sudden you go from $2 to $60 and it's worth it. You haven't delivered one drug yet. So people bought puts. That means you are betting on it going down. So basically you bet on the stock going down, hitting a certain price, and you make a lot of money. So last but not least in the options game is what they call a straddle. You buy calls and you buy puts against the same company. So you make money going up or you can make money coming down. So that way you hear, a lot of the big time investors, that's how they protect themselves. So they will put out calls and puts that last 3 years and they're making money on that same stock going up or that same stock coming down. So that's pretty much how I play the options market. I don't get into all the other stuff that people do. Like I said, the short term, the scalps, the day trading, the swing trading is just too volatile for me, and I'm not that big of a yes, sir.
Is there a great place you could send somebody if they wanted to know more about the options?
Yeah, you can go to Investopediacom. It will allow you actually to set up a practice account. They have videos that you can watch. If you're on Instagram or if you're on YouTube, there's a gentleman by the name of Mark Monroe. Mark Monroe is a very successful venture capitalist. He also is a very successful person who's started companies and sold them, but he plays the options, and he started this YouTube account called the Come Up series. And basically every Tuesday night and Thursday nights on the Come Up series on YouTube at 8 o'clock Eastern, he talks about options. And, one of the first episodes that he did, he talked about losing $18 million in his options account. Wow. And everybody on the call said, "Did you mean to say 1,800 or 18,000?" He said, "No, I lost 18 million." And I said, how do you do that and be so calm about it? And he said, "Well, I also had cancer. So if you think you're going to die, $18 million is nothing." But on the flip side of that, that means that he had 18 million in the first place to lose. So you had to think about who we were talking to. So now he has this series that he does, like I said, every Tuesday and Thursday that we get to listen to. Another gentleman I would say his name is Ian Dunlap. He's called the Master Investor. He teaches long term, he teaches short term, he teaches options, and he teaches the futures. So all these people are on Instagram. You can follow them on YouTube. And since I've been on Instagram as Wall Street Consortium, it's like I became this person because I'm the oldest person that everybody listens to. It's the funniest thing. It's like, okay, he's the OG. He's been doing this for 20 years, and he's in his 50s. And in the Black community, I can say this, you don't see a lot of people like myself who were willing to come out publicly talking about they've been in the stock market for 20 years. So there's a lot of young people who are like, wow, so he actually has done this. He's actually living it. My grandfather, back in the 50s was buying IRAs and CDs, and then it passed down to my mother and father, then to me. Now I've passed it on to my son. So like I said, 4 generations, and, I got proof. So, and one of the things I'll talk about, right quick is, I had an investment group for almost 9 years. We started an investment club for 9 years. And one of the best years we had a 1,200% return on the number of stocks that, we had in like 1998. And, we were written up in different magazines and things like that. It was all great. And one of the stocks that's no longer around is called Unisys. I don't know, a lot of people probably don't even know who Unisys is. But we did 400% on just that one stock. We did 9,000% on Dell back in the in the 90s. So, and you can go look all this stuff up. You can Google it. People were just like, "Oh, I don't believe you." I said, "Okay, let's do a Zoom call and we'll Google all this stuff." Where was Dell in 97? 9,000% return. Where was Unisys back in those days? 400% return. One of the worst companies in the 90s was Apple. I bought Apple at $22.50. I've lived through every split. I've been buying Apple ever since. So not going to say how much I actually own, but I'm doing okay. I'll put it that way.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Very good. I guess,
yes,
there's so many lessons that we learned in what you're talking about. I think the long-term strategy, just a lot of learning about it. I think, you know, if
Yes.
somebody's not in it, you know, I like how you said you can go get the account that basically like a dummy account where you're not really
Yes, sir.
trading your money. I think
Yes.
that's smart as well. I think it's, you know, when you're talking about these returns, like you feel like right now we're in another one of those times where we're not going to see for a long opportunity where we're not going to see for a long time. That's kind of how you see us right now.
Yes, sir. That is basically why I told even my sister is a doctor, and you know, she lives a great life. She went to medical school in Detroit. She was working in Detroit. Katrina hit Louisiana, which is where we're from. She went back to work free for a whole year to give back to the community and work for free.
That's fantastic.
And her practice has just grown since she's gone back. And I told her, I'm telling her, look, you got a brokerage account. You've been buying stocks that I tell you to buy. But now I want, as we say, load the boat, load the clip, whatever, back the truck up on Apple, back it up on Tesla. You know, we still buying Microsoft and McDonald's and Starbucks. But now it's going to be a chance for a lot of people who never knew what it was to grow wealth, not just be rich. You want to grow generational wealth. That's the way I look at it, so you can hand it down. And the crazy thing about this whole thing, Nick, I'll tell you, I named a couple people already, but I never got into the bonds before. So, you know, I'm like, you know, bonds don't sound sexy at all. Well, you know, what's the
That's a safe one, right?
Yeah, it's very safe.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But people trade bonds now, and I follow this gentleman, Jason Sweeting. He's on, his name is Jay the Trader on IG, and he's teaching people from 13 years old to people who are pilots and doctors how to trade the bonds. And they trade them from like, you know, 8 in the morning till 12 noon, and they're done. Or they go on late at night, because the bond market never closes. It closes for an hour a day. It's closed for 1 hour. The rest of the time, you can trade the bonds. Now, it doesn't sound good, but you got people making $500 a day to you got some people making $8,000, $9,000 a day. And it's amazing that you can actually get those returns once you learn, you know, how that whole system works in trading the bonds. So I've met so many people, you know, that I've named so far that on IG since I've got on, which I think is just, you know, crazy for me. It opened up a whole new world.
It's a pretty good dare.
Yeah, it was a great dare, and he's now regretting it. Like, okay, but he's made some great returns on his stock account, you know, that he's called out, so he's happy. But I'm beating him when it comes to the number of followers on Instagram right about now. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Charles, now it's time to solve the equation to your success. This is where I ask you 7 rapid fire questions to solve the equation. We're looking for the keys to your success. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
We'll bring it. Best seminar or teaching you've ever been to?
I went to a seminar where I got to see Tony Robbins speak, who actually wrote the book Money Masters the Game. When you see Tony Robbins speak, he opens up your mind to a whole new world of studying the stock market.
I think that's great. I try to let you just keep going here, but since you brought it up, you know, a lot of people talk so much about Tony with motivational speaking. But what he's done in the latter part of his career with the stock market and his investing tips and the books he's written, fantastic.
He's incredible. Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
Favorite item you've recently bought under $100?
Under $100, I'll have to say it's been probably a new pair of sneakers that I like I said, with 23-year-old and 28-year-old, they try to keep me young. So I went out and I actually bought a new pair of Air Jordans that I had been looking at for 5 years that I wouldn't buy because they were $200. They went on sale in March because of the pandemic. So I got me a new pair of Air Jordans that's currently still sitting in the box because I don't have nowhere to wear them.
Love it. Name an idol or hero of yours that you met in person.
Quite frankly, I'm gonna say my hero, other than somebody in my family, I have to say my pastor. His name is Dr. Jamie Pleasant. I've been in that church now for over 20 years, and when I first met him, quite frankly, I met him and we were moving to Atlanta. We were buying a house. He was in the same house, and I, looking at it, and I thought he was a football player, which he was because he played football at Clemson. And come to find out, he was a pastor, and he invited me to the church. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll come visit. And he's been a bright light in my life because he's also an investor. And him and his wife basically lived on one income for like 10 years and invested their total salary of one person. And of course, now they are very well off. So he's been a true blessing to continue my life. Yes, sir.
Favorite book to give as a gift?
Favorite book? It's the mindset, the growth mindset by Carol Dweck. If you want to change your mindset about investing, how you're living, to stop being mediocre in life, you got to change your current mindset of how you think. If you are thinking consumerism all the time and not ownership, you're never going to get anywhere. You spend your whole paycheck when you buy it. Basically, you need to invest. So the growth mindset by Carol Dweck.
Something you do every morning before you brush your teeth?
Quite frankly, I open my eyes, I say a prayer, and every morning, and then I get up and I brush my teeth and cut on CNBC. That's my routine. Yes, sir.
Your personal mantra or favorite quote?
Personal mantra or favorite quote? Oh my God. Okay. That's a good one. But quite frankly, it sounds cliche. Just do it, by Nike. If you're contemplating something, you're in the, like I say, you don't have that growth mindset. So get up and just do it. So that's my favorite quote.
Place you go to decompress and reset?
My basement that I'm sitting in right now. So, it's the craziest thing I find is that, we buy these big old houses in Atlanta and you have a basement and you spend so much time, upstairs in other rooms. But right now I come into my basement, I can be by myself and decompress and don't have to hear the wife, my son, or anybody else asking me for anything. I can come here with my scotch and be by myself.
Charles, if the listeners want to get more of your tips and they want to get some consulting from you, or they want to reach out to you, where can they find you? Go ahead and give us a plug.
Yes, please. On Facebook, you can find me under Charles Coney. That's easy on Facebook. On Instagram, my Instagram is Wall Street Consortium. And people ask me, why did I pick Consortium? Consortium is like a family. If one piece falls down, the other pieces, bring you up. So I believe in that. So Wall Street Consortium is where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook under Charles Coney. You can also tap, into me on LinkedIn, where you can see my professional background. And, if you want to talk engineering, if you want to talk career, you want to talk budgeting, or if you want to talk investing, those are the places you can find me.
Charles, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciated it.
Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate this. You guys are doing a great service to the community. I've told so many people about your podcast, and I'm trying to, help it grow, because we need more people like yourself out here helping, other than the people that I already named. But now that I found you, I've listened to a number of your podcasts where you've had some interesting characters on here also. I think it's really good. Thanks a lot, Nick. Thanks,
Thank you,
Jason.
Thanks for the kind words. Thank you so much, Charles.
Okay, thank you.